my daily day's struggle. Alex often stared at the ceiling, feeling the heavy weight of English. Every day was a relentless struggle, a silent battle against words that refused to connect. The frustration mounted, making simple conversations seem like insurmountable mountains. This constant internal monologue of inadequacy defined his quiet existence, a lonely place. He yearned for change, for a voice. The world felt closed off, vibrant discussions happening just beyond his reach. Understanding snippets wasn't enough, true comprehension eluded him, a persistent fog. His mind raced, searching for phrases, only to find them tangled. This daily ordeal chipped away at his confidence, leaving him feeling perpetually isolated. He needed a true breakthrough desperately. One evening, a simple online search provided a spark: how to improve your listening skills. Alex realized he had been trying to speak before truly hearing. This seemed like a logical first step, a foundational element often overlooked. Perhaps unlocking the ears would eventually unlock the tongue, a hopeful new beginning. He started small, listening to children's stories in English, their simple narratives a gentle introduction. The initial moments were still daunting, a blur of unfamiliar sounds. Yet, he persisted, focusing on intonation and rhythm rather than strict word-for-word translation. This passive immersion slowly began to chip away at his oral barriers, a quiet revolution. Progress was subtle, almost imperceptible at first. Simple phrases began to separate from the background noise, like individual instruments in an orchestra. Moving to podcasts about his hobbies, Alex found himself catching more key terms. The soundscape of English, once alien, slowly started making more sense, a gradual unfolding. This consistent listening practice, even during mundane chores, became a ritual. His brain, though protesting initially, gradually adapted to processing English auditory inputs more efficiently. The sheer volume of exposure started yielding results, building a quiet reservoir of familiarity. He felt a tiny seed of hope sprouting, a promising sign. With improved listening, a new challenge emerged: speaking. The thought of engaging in real conversation still filled him with dread. Then, an unconventional idea surfaced from an old article: how to talk at home to yourself. It seemed peculiar, even silly, but intriguing nonetheless. Could this be a safe haven for practice? Standing in front of his mirror, Alex felt an embarrassing blush creeping up his neck. He began describing his morning routine aloud, stumbling over basic verbs. I brush my teeth. The words felt heavy, awkward, foreign even in his own mouth. Yet, he continued, determined to conquer this inner monologue. Slowly, tentatively, he progressed from describing objects to narrating thoughts. I think this is a good idea. I will try harder. The initial awkwardness began to fade, replaced by a strange sense of liberation. This private space became his linguistic playground, free from judgment, allowing uninhibited experimentation. He talked about his day, his plans, even imaginary conversations with famous people. This constant stream of self-talk, though peculiar, started forging new neural pathways. It allowed him to experiment with sentence structures and vocabulary without fear of error, building fundamental fluency. The quiet house became his language laboratory. Through this self-dialogue, he stumbled upon gaps in his vocabulary, prompting immediate searches for missing words. What's the word for that feeling? This proactive learning during real-time speech significantly accelerated his progress. The act of talking to himself became an iterative process of discovery and immediate application. The internal monologue, once dominated by his native tongue, gradually began to shift. He noticed himself thinking in English more frequently, especially when planning or analyzing. This spontaneous English thought was a profound milestone, bridging the gap between comprehension and expression effortlessly, a truly liberating experience. This silent transformation gave him a quiet confidence. The words, once elusive, now seemed more accessible, residing closer to the surface. He was building muscle memory for English sounds and rhythms, preparing for external interaction. The walls of his home echoed with the sounds of burgeoning fluency, a personal triumph. Then, another crucial insight solidified: why reading is important. He understood that while listening and speaking were vital, reading provided structure, vocabulary, and contextual understanding. It was the blueprint, the comprehensive guide that integrated all other skills. He needed to expand his written input. Alex started devouring simple English novels, short stories, and online articles related to his interests. He highlighted new words, looking them up immediately, and then tried incorporating them into his self-talk. This active reading deepened his understanding of grammar and sentence construction organically, a truly immersive experience. Reading revealed patterns, common idioms, and nuanced expressions that listening alone hadn't fully provided. It filled the gaps, strengthening his mental dictionary and grammatical framework. Each page turned was a step towards greater linguistic sophistication, a journey of continuous discovery and refinement. The combination of consistent listening, fearless self-talk, and dedicated reading created a powerful synergy. His vocabulary blossomed, his grammar improved, and his overall comprehension soared. He felt an undeniable surge of readiness, a quiet but potent anticipation for real-world application. The theoretical groundwork was firmly laid. The time had come for true English talking practice beyond his bedroom walls. He knew that the ultimate test lay in interaction with others. The prospect still held a knot of anxiety, but the desire to communicate outweighed the fear. He needed to step outside his comfort zone decisively. He explored language exchange apps and online communities, searching for patient partners. The idea of speaking with strangers was daunting, but he reminded himself of the progress made alone. This was the next logical, albeit terrifying, progression in his journey, a necessary leap of faith. His first virtual meeting, a video call with a friendly partner from Canada, was nerve-wracking. His heart pounded, and his voice felt like sandpaper. He fumbled for words, often pausing awkwardly, his mind racing to translate. Yet, he managed to convey basic information, a small victory. The partner's gentle encouragement and patient corrections were invaluable. They focused on communication rather than perfection, easing Alex's anxiety considerably. He realized that mistakes were part of the learning process, not failures. This supportive environment fostered genuine progress and reduced his self-consciousness dramatically. Each subsequent call felt a little less intimidating. He learned to embrace the pauses, to reformulate sentences, and to ask for clarification. The goal shifted from flawless speech to effective communication. This iterative practice built resilience and adaptability, crucial for real-time interaction. A significant hurdle remained: how to think and speak directly in English. He noticed himself still mentally translating from his native language, slowing down his responses. The aim was to bypass this intermediate step, to connect thought directly to English expression instantly. He began practicing thinking in English exercises. Before speaking, he'd consciously formulate his thoughts directly in English in his mind. This mental rehearsal, though initially slow, gradually trained his brain to default to English processing, reducing the translation lag significantly. This internal practice extended to daily observations. Alex would silently narrate his surroundings in English, describing objects, actions, and even abstract concepts. This constant mental immersion built fluency from the inside out, making the transition to spoken English more seamless and natural. He also paid close attention to how people speak English. He observed native speakers in videos, noting their intonation patterns, pauses, and natural flow. Mimicking their rhythm and common expressions during his self-talk became a new form of practice, enhancing his naturalness. Understanding the subtle nuances of stress and intonation made his speech sound more authentic, less robotic. He learned that language wasn't just words but also music. This deeper appreciation for natural pronunciation elevated his speaking skills beyond mere grammar and vocabulary. Emboldened by his progress, Alex sought more opportunities for how to talk to people in pairs. He joined local language exchange meetups, expanding his practice beyond online calls. Face-to-face interaction added a new dimension, requiring real-time adaptability and nonverbal cues. These in-person conversations were initially intimidating, but the relaxed atmosphere helped. He found partners who shared similar learning goals, fostering a supportive environment. Discussing diverse topics, from current events to personal hobbies, expanded his conversational range significantly. He learned to initiate conversations, ask open-ended questions, and actively listen to responses. The art of reciprocal communication, beyond just forming sentences, began to click. These pair interactions were becoming less about practice and more about genuine connection, a true breakthrough. There were still moments of hesitation, fumbling for a word, or misunderstanding a phrase. But instead of retreating, Alex embraced these as learning opportunities. He asked for clarification, used gestures, and rephrased until he was understood, embodying true communicative resilience. The journey of learning English was no longer a chore but an exciting adventure. Each successful conversation, each new phrase understood, fueled his motivation further. He was actively building a new part of his identity, a more confident, articulate self. His daily struggle had transformed into daily triumphs. The initial fear of embarrassment had been replaced by a quiet determination and a growing sense of self-efficacy. He was living proof that consistent effort, even small steps, leads to remarkable progress. Alex began to notice how effortlessly people speak English in everyday situations. He observed their casual greetings, their quick jokes, and their seamless transitions between topics. This naturalness, once so intimidating, now seemed within his grasp through continued practice. He consciously tried to incorporate more idiomatic expressions and common phrasal verbs he encountered. This made his speech sound less like a textbook and more like a real person conversing naturally. The nuances of native speech slowly became his own. The fear of making mistakes, once paralyzing, had significantly diminished. He understood that fluency wasn't about perfection, but about effective communication and continuous improvement. This mindset shift was perhaps the most crucial element in his progress. The cumulative effect of listening, self-talk, reading, paired practice, and observing native speakers prepared him for the ultimate test. He was ready to take the first step for talking confidently in an unplanned, real-life scenario. The moment was imminent. It happened at a bustling cafe. Alex needed to order a specific type of coffee, a request that required more than a simple pointing gesture. His heart fluttered, a familiar pang of anxiety, but this time it was different, it was manageable. He took a deep breath, recalling all the hours of self-talk, the patient language partners, the words read, the podcasts absorbed. Every single practice session had led to this very moment. He was prepared, not for perfection, but for effective communication. "Excuse me," he began, his voice surprisingly steady. "Could I please have an iced latte with oat milk and an extra shot of espresso?" The words flowed, not perfectly, but clearly, articulated with newfound confidence. He maintained eye contact with the barista. The barista nodded, smiled, and confirmed the order effortlessly. "Coming right up." It was a simple exchange, yet for Alex, it felt monumental. No fumbling, no frantic translation, just a natural, successful conversation. A wave of exhilaration washed over him. This small victory sparked an even greater desire to engage. He found himself initiating conversations more often, asking directions, chatting with shopkeepers, and even making small talk with strangers. Each interaction built on the last, solidifying his confidence. The daily struggle had genuinely transformed into daily enjoyment. English was no longer a barrier but a bridge, connecting him to new people, new information, and new opportunities. He was living proof of the power of consistent, multifaceted practice. He realized that learning English was an ongoing journey, not a destination. There would always be new vocabulary, new idioms, and new nuances to discover. But now, he had the tools, the confidence, and the mindset to embrace this continuous learning process. Alex continued his listening routines, always discovering new podcasts and audiobooks. His ears had become finely tuned instruments, picking up subtleties he once missed. This consistent auditory input kept his comprehension sharp and current, a vital component. His self-talk at home evolved, becoming a fluid internal dialogue, a constant rehearsal space for complex ideas. It was no longer just about basic descriptions but about formulating arguments, expressing opinions, and even debating silently with himself. Reading remained a foundational pillar, expanding his intellectual horizons. He ventured into more complex texts, from academic papers to classic literature, enriching his vocabulary and understanding of sophisticated sentence structures. This constant input fueled his output. He actively sought out English talking practice in diverse settings. Joining a local club or volunteering became new avenues for genuine communication, forcing him to adapt to different accents and conversational styles. This diversity sharpened his adaptability. The challenge of how to think and speak directly in English became second nature. The mental translation process had virtually disappeared, replaced by direct, spontaneous expression. His thoughts now flowed seamlessly from concept to English words. Observing how people speak English continued to refine his naturalness. He picked up on subtle cultural cues and informal expressions, integrating them into his own speech, making his interactions more authentic and relatable to native speakers. He became a mentor for others beginning their Learn English journey, sharing his strategies for how to take first step for talking. He emphasized patience, consistency, and embracing mistakes as learning opportunities, inspiring others to persist. The initial "my daily days" struggle had given way to a profound sense of accomplishment and empowerment. He had conquered not just a language, but his own self-doubt and fear. English had opened up a whole new world of possibilities. His confidence now radiated, not only in English but in all aspects of his life. The discipline and resilience cultivated during his language journey spilled over, making him more adventurous and open to new challenges. It was a complete transformation. He reflected on the journey, from hesitant whispers to confident conversations. It wasn't a magic trick, but a series of deliberate, consistent actions. Each small step, no matter how insignificant it seemed at the time, contributed to the monumental shift. Alex's story became a testament to perseverance and the power of focused practice. English was no longer just a skill, it was a pathway to global connection, deeper understanding, and a richer, more fulfilling life. His voice had truly found its freedom.